basically challenges which world is facing right now at the moment. I listed 4 of them, but I challenge you to list more of them if you know. One of them I would like to emphasize is population growth. As you know, by 2020 it's expected that the world population will be around 9 billion. So lots of challenges, not only with food production, but also with accommodation, where to put these people. We have limited planet we live on, and we all share the same planet. The second problem I listed is sealing of best agricultural land, where mainly conventional food production is happening in the world. So, you know, in Slovenia, for example, just to get the impression, because you are here in Slovenia, to have some local information, the data, the research said that from 2002 until 2007, we lost 7 hectares of best agricultural land where we produce our food. And so far you got the impression how various and basically diverse our country is. We have a lot of hilly terrain as well, so not a lot of plains where we can produce food. So agriculture is facing big challenges here as well in a way. We import a lot of vegetables, around 60–65%, mainly coming from Italy, Turkey, Spain, Netherlands, unfortunately. But yeah, this is what open markets are doing. Then the third problem I listed here is connected with climate change, and it's basically connected with droughts. So lots of dry days during the summer where the agricultural food production is at the peak, so plants need water at that time. We had a really dry summer like 2 or 3 years ago, but the problem here in Slovenia is also that our rain is not distributed equally around the country. So at some parts we got a lot of it, and at some parts we have you know, not so much. We are lacking for 2 months at least. And the fourth one is food prices. Food prices are rising because of fuel prices as well, so everything basically is connected. But as I said, I challenge you. Do you know any more problems the world is facing today? And I didn't list it. Just make this more interactive, because I hate to stand here.
But it's connected with droughts.
What? The floods, yes, okay. Yeah, you have, on the other hand, a lot of water, and it runs off, it makes a lot of damage, and on the other hand, dry land, yeah, with no rain. All right, so floods, droughts, anything else? Yes?
The sea resources are decreasing too, so...
Sea resources? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mean fish?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are overfishing our seas.
So we have to develop aquaculture.
Okay, but why do you think that we have to develop aquaculture? Why aquaculture is important?
Is increasing.
Okay, demand for fish, but why are fish important?
But we also use a lot of ingredients from ocean, for example, for producing fish oil, fish meal, and so a lot of research is regarding to replace that animal stuffs, ingredients, and to replace with vegetable.
Okay, so you are talking about the nutrition value.
Yes.
Okay, so proteins are lacking in human nutrition in general.
Human and also in animal.
Human and animal consumption. Okay, very good point. What else maybe come across your mind?
Contamination of fish.
Contamination of fish?
Through all the dumping in the sea that the food chain accumulates and ends up in the fish we fish.
Mm-hmm. For example, if you have some oil leakage in the ocean, and then not only this, but a lot of ocean pollution which is happening, and then it chains up, this food chain. Okay. What about if we move from oceans more towards the terrain or inland?
But also the problem with pollution is staying.
Okay, yes, because of the conventional farming.
There's a lot of waste and
Okay, we produce a lot of waste, yeah?
We need to reduce the footprint.
The footprint?
Dioxide carbon.
Okay, yeah. Because this all causes, on the other hand, climate change and everything, so, okay, footprint, yeah?
It's also the phosphorus resources
What about them? Yeah.
for fertilizer. They don't really know, but it's like they might just last for another 50 or 100 years.
Okay, and then we will run out of them, yeah, and then we will be facing problem, yeah, because plants, they need phosphorus as well, yeah. Okay. So availability of food in different parts of the world, you mean? For example, developed world and developing world. Okay. So the distribution of food is not equal. Yeah.
like the train.
Sorry.
Like the train.
Yeah. Okay, Viveke, you wanted to say something? Yeah.
Maybe like climate change can also influence different parts of the world where you usually could produce food, you can't produce food in the future.
All right.
And like in Norway, we import a lot of soy from South America and areas like that. And if we can't sustain ourselves in our own country, we will be very vulnerable for changes in the climate in other parts of the world, and also our own country. Temperatures and all that.
Yeah, they say that there will be really strong fights for water in the future and for food as well. So it's like a national security each country has in food resources. You know, if you're dependent on others, then you're more vulnerable to all the things. Yeah. All right. Anything else to add? I think that we covered quite a lot.
Due to the costs of transport, we are facing an oil crash, I believe.
Yeah.
And we should be prepared for a society beyond oil. So we have to raise the resilience.
Okay.
The sustainability of producing food locally and cycle close the cycle from the circle of nutrition and
So from
locally.
yes, locally, so local production, yes, it's in rise, I think, in the world as well. You know, we have some data that there are some local communities joining, not only in Europe but also in the States and in Australia. So people are becoming more and more aware of this fact that locally produced food is more nutritional. You know, so we have more minerals and vitamins preserved if the food is produced locally. You know, if you can imagine that tomato travels 1,000 kilometers, I have data that for salad, for example, if you pick it up, so from the time you pick it up from the field, in one day it loses 40% of vitamin C. There were research on that, and you see, then you have to ask yourself as a consumer, you know, is this salad basically high in nutritional value or not? Shall I buy it or not? Yeah. But this mind setting is very hard to change overnight, especially in the human civilization.
A bigger variety of food species or salad species when you avoid the trading regulations like the European Union regulations on cucumbers or whatever.
Yeah.
So you just have, I don't know, 1 or 2 species of cucumber in the supermarkets, but when you produce locally, you can have a great variety of
even bigger than it is now at the moment. Yeah. Right. Okay. I think we covered quite a lot for the introduction, so that you will go home with this message in your mind. And why are we basically here today? Yeah, we are talking about some new food producing technologies. So it is very important. Here are some facts from Food and Agricultural Organization. For example, how many land is used for crop production. It's very interesting to look at, and as well, not only land but also from the water side. There are very basic and known data. So 70% of the whole water is used in agriculture. Fresh water, yeah. Then the second fact here related to fish production as well, just to give you the idea. Where are we at the moment? But the question is, which arises, can we produce food in another way? With the use of natural fertilizers, without soil, with less water, without pesticides or herbicides? Yeah, that's the biggest question, right? We know all hydroponics, which developed out of these facts as well, and which runs really well. But where is aquaponics in this sense? Basically, it's nothing new. I mean, all of you who are dealing with this topic for a while, you probably browsed the internet and you came across about chinampas, so floating gardens, which already were known by Aztec civilization 5,000 years ago. And they were quite successful producing vegetables on the lakes. So they used mud from the bottom of the lake. They put it on top of this net they made out of plants. Okay, they did it by hands, and they used the mud from the bottom of the lake. They put it on top, and the mud was basically used as a fertilizer for plants. There are also living examples of floating gardens at the moment. Yeah, in Myanmar, so near Burma in Asia. So this is an example of floating tomato garden on Inle Lake. So yes, people are producing food in a different way, not just the way we know it here, conventional farming. So just to orientate yourself, where is Myanmar? Bordering China and Thailand, and Inle Lake is somewhere here. So this is the place. But doing like this, so producing food like this, the people from Myanmar, they are facing with quite a lot of environmental problems. This Inle Lake is suffering from environmental effects because of the increased population and rapid growth of population and tourism. In 65 years, there are estimates that this lake decreased by 32% in water content because of this intensive usage, especially because with the development of these floating gardens, which support local people. They were introduced in this lake in 1960s. So from that point on, the lake shrank a little bit. I don't know if they stopped now to put some more floating gardens on. Have you been there? I mean, have any of you visited this? Okay, Ralph is, yeah. And what was your impression of this?
Oh, that was 20 years ago. I was just fascinated by raising plants like
on the lake.
They do on the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And they live in huts on the lake.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Swimming villages.
Okay, and they use boats to pick up the plants as well. Mm-hmm. So I think that tourists can come there as well. So they have like tourists, guides, walking around.
They got a special way of pulling the paddle with the one leg and very relaxed. And it was to my mind it looks like it's quite living there, good.
Right. Okay. They are self-sustained. They are self-sufficient communities.
I didn't know that they introduced this kind of agriculture in the 60s.
Yeah.
I believe it was ages ago.
Yeah, probably it was, but the official data it says,
Oh,
you
right.
know, yes, maybe they started to bring tourists in that time as well.
I was fascinated. The floating material they use to
Yeah.
get them floated is
Mhm.
just hyacinth.
Hyacinth, yes, the plant.
They just pull
ornamental
them out
plant.
of the water, the hyacinths,
Mhm.
and let them dry on the banks, and then they reintroduce it and stuff it under the floating beds.
Right, and they use the mud from the bottom of the lake to fertilize
Yes,
the plots.
I believe, yeah.
Okay. They don't use any pesticides and herbicides.
They don't need to.
They don't need to, yes, of
Their
course.
own,
As you have in aquaponics, most of the insects have a larval stage in the soil, right?
Mhm.
And so
It's a natural process, basically, natural cycle.
they don't have any soil.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yes, and now we come to the aquaponics. So what is it all about? So it's about combining the aquaculture part, so fish production, with the hydroponics part, where you deal with plants and plant production. So the main thing is that this ammonia, which is extracted by fish through their ears, yeah. So they are constantly there, those two ions, and with the help of a bacterial community, they convert. First, this is two-step procedure. From the biology and microbiology point of view, it is known that first step, so the ammonia becomes nitrate, okay, and then this nitrate is still not available, you know, to the plants, right? So it becomes nitrate. Am I right? Did I make any mistake here? Okay. But it is very important that these bacterial communities, some people, they don't know much, or basically they don't understand that they're the essential part of this system. Apart from fish and plants, of course, they need to be there because of two reasons. First, because of the mineralization of organic matter, and second, because of conversion of this ammonia into nitrate, which can be then sucked up by the plant roots. This will Tom then later on in this week explain more about. So fish excrement plus the remains of fish food, which stays there in the basin or in the barrel, let's say, yeah, in the plastic barrel where the fish are. So that's why NH3 and NH4 are both constantly present, and it depends on the pH of the water and the temperature of the water, what is the amount of their concentration, right? So it's changing. And then research says that at pH 10, which is not the optimum pH for the aquaponics, okay, let's be careful, yeah, their ratio is 50-50. Okay, yeah?
Are you sure that that's...
Yeah. This is the data from the research, that this approximately at 10, pH 10.
I've learned at university, it's, the point is 8.3.
8.3, yeah.
And it's even worse. You have 80 to 90% of any ammonium then as ammonia, which is toxic to the fish.
Okay, no, I'm talking about the balance, you know, 50-50. So they come to the balance. Now you're talking.
No, it's
if pH increases, yeah.
At below 8.3, you have 80% nitrate and ammonium.
Ammonium, yeah.
And above 8.3, you have 80% ammonia. So that could be a big problem for the fish.
Yeah, for the fish, because fish it's toxic for the fish.
It's poison.
It's poison, yes. You can have a catastrophe in your fish tank. Yeah. Right. So yeah, if you said so, if pH increases, of course the concentration of this NH3 ammonia increases as well. So, but it's also very important to mention this microbial communities which are there. So we know like two big groups of bacteria who helps to convert this ammonia. The first one is Nitrosomonas and the second one is Nitrospira. So the advice would be that if you have a lot of ammonia in your system, you stop feeding fish for at least 2 days, and then it's also very important that you measure your pHD on a daily basis. It's the best if you can afford it, but on a weekly for sure. Okay, because it can happen really quickly. It can happen in a few hours that you can have the rise of ammonia, which is toxic, and especially if you don't have a grow bed, enough grow bed, so enough green coverage on the other side, so the plants cannot take up this and then it goes back into your system, in your aquaculture system. All those two steps or two stages are working with the presence of oxygen, so oxidation presence, and yeah, you are happy when you balance all these things in your aquaponic systems. But then in the afternoon, Matej will say more about it from his own experiences. This is just a theoretical background that you will understand what is happening in the aquaponic system as a whole, right? Okay? So fish part, bacterial community, and plants part. And the first one I mentioned was the mineralization of organic matter, because you always have some organic matter in the aquaponic system. And mainly heterotrophic bacteria from different various genera are responsible for converting this, so for mineralization of this organic matter. Mainly the potassium and phosphorus are, becoming smaller molecules, right? And of course, this nitrification bacteria, which I mentioned before, in these two stages, and these heterotrophic bacteria are always competing in the system for the food, for the space, in this biofilter. And it all depends, so their ratio, it all depends on the carbon and nitrogen ratio in your system. Right. Do you have any questions so far? Any comments, maybe, to add? Yeah? Sorry?
What are the sources of carbon and nitrogen that you're talking about in the ratio?
Carbon, nitrogen, you can also find it in fish food, okay? But it's all extracted, so also fish, they don't just pee, they also poo, so you have this muddy material, which is, rich fish waste, for example.
Also, there's the oxygen issue as well in this composition.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can freely add whatever to my lecture, because I forgot to mention, basically aquaponics is not my main research field. I'm into it for the last 2 years, let's say. I was working my PhD on agent-based modeling, which is more computer science, but then I shifted to aquaponics because I found it really challenging, and I know that this is the way that we are going to produce the food in the future. And I really would like to share this knowledge amongst the wider community. So that's why I also started up my own company in February 2013, which Mitya and Matej are a part of. So yes, we are trying also to do some research here at our faculty, right? But we started it last year with this little aquaponic unit, also Kevin knows and Gaspar. So these are the starts. You have to start somewhere. But we have also our experts amongst us, which are going to say a lot more about it. Right, and then of course the next question is why aquaponics? Yeah, we must not just talk about advantages or just about advantages. Also, we have to emphasize disadvantages of the system. I just listed a few, and I put a question mark again for you to think. What would you add, for example? Some of you have some practical experience already, but the first advantage is, of course, fast plant growth. Yeah. Okay, if the system is working optimally, in optimum conditions, then plants are growing really fast because they're under controlled conditions, especially if you have the system inside, under the greenhouse or glass house. Studies also reveal that there is higher yield in aquaponics as well. And of course, it's organic and natural because you cannot use any pesticides because of the fish. Fish part is the most vulnerable part of the system. Yeah, the first sign, whenever something goes wrong, it will be shown on the fish, and then there's something really wrong. You can set it up also in the urban environment if all the legislation and all the construction criteria are set up. I mean, you know, if the roof can handle this, or if you have the access to the electricity, yeah, the infrastructure must be there. But it's good because you can set it up there because soil is not needed in this system, in theory. Yeah. Of course, you use less water in comparison to conventional farming. Estimates say that up to 90% less water is used in aquaponics. Of course, you have no weeds, you have no soil, you have no weeds, so you don't pick up the weeds. Minimal environmental impact. Why? Because it's a closed system and you control all the factors in there. Of course, it's sustainable in a way, one part. The other question which arises here, you have also pro and con, so two sides of the same coin, right? Sustainable in a way that it mimics the natural, let's say, stages. But if you consider all the material you need to bring in to set up the aquaponics system, then this question is more on the disadvantage side, okay? Because you have to use plastic pipes, you have to use fish tanks, you know, there is a lot of material coming from outside, but if you consider that you can use some natural materials, for example wood, then you are again more on the advantage side of the aquaponics food production. Yeah? It always depends on how you look at it, right? And of course, the benefit is also combining the income from selling your fish as a product and selling your vegetables as the other product. Okay? You have to have the market for both of them, which is nowadays very challenging as well. Because fish, they have their own demands. Adrian will say more about it. You cannot grow any type of fish anywhere. So you have to consider really well before you're setting up the system. Okay, disadvantages for this part of the world, we are talking about Europe. Okay, it's not certified organic, not yet. With this COST action, we are aiming to move these things forward. It's quite a long procedure, it won't happen over the night. Especially in this space, because Europe is very diversified, so every country has its own rule, regulations. Yes, Vibeke?
Isn't it certified in the States?
Yes, in the States it is, yes. So that's why I said I'm talking about this European space. Yes, in 2008 they got the organic certification in States. So basically they got the label, but the materials, so plastic and all these fish tanks, they need to be produced in a certain way so they don't contain all this PBAS and so on, you know, all this nasty stuff. So you need to look at it.
You should think that the plastic pipes would release like stuff into the water that can be
Yeah, usually those plastic barrels or plastic tanks, they are used for food storage, and they are tested before. Yeah, they are tested, but you have to ask before, you have to be sure that not some chemicals were stored in before, okay, or that they were made of some funny, plastic materials.
But I get the impression from the Norwegian aquaculture
Yeah.
industry that they don't allow plastic pipes in their.
What did they use then instead of plastic?
Metal, I guess. Metal pipes and.
Metal pipes.
Say something.
Yeah.
As I told you, I'm from an electricity supplier, but we supply water as well. And the pipes in the soil on the ground are made of PE. So this is plastic. It's the same material than the IBC is made of. PE.
Polyethylene.
Polyethylene, yeah.
Yeah.
Polyethylene
Yeah.
pipes.
Our grid, our water grid is made of PE.
Okay.
So if this is a problem, we have all a problem. You all have.
Yeah, we all have the problem. Yeah. Yeah. Of
Well, I
course.
think PE is. Yeah. I hope it's not dangerous for us because
No. I've heard that this is just dangerous if it's exposed to the sunlight, direct sunlight. That
I think
some
they
things can be
won't
released.
release softener to the BPA or what
Yeah.
to the water. It's just degraded by light. It's oxygenated by
Yeah.
light.
But
Yeah.
it's whole system and it's not outside the.
It's inside.
It's
Yeah.
not
Mhm.
sun.
Yeah. And you.
And if you use some other material, you will increase the cost of production.
Yeah.
Unless
Plastic
You
is-
have another problem.
Plastic
Yeah,
is
yeah.
cheap, yeah. You have, certain regulations. You have this Koch water solution which you add to your water channels. So with the prescribed nutrition level, so your plants happily grow. But what about aquaponics? We still don't know what is this optimum. I mean, we're still trying to find it, in a way. But I don't know if this is a disadvantage, it's more like a challenge. So high professional knowledge is needed, not only from one field of experts, but this is interdisciplinary food production, combining the ones who know a lot about aquaculture, the ones who know about hydroponics, about plant production, plant diseases, also social scientists are involved, also economists. So we are talking about the next step of food production and also the next step of gaining the knowledge. I mean, gaining all the experts sitting at one table and communicating with each other, which is now quite a big challenge. A few years ago, you were expert in your own field, you were doing that, but you were just not hearing others. But now it will be needed more and more. Of course, high energy consumption, especially if you think of setting up these systems in a colder climates, and if you would like to produce food throughout the whole year, you have to heat up the system. You have to heat up the water because of the fish, because of the plants. You need to heat up, the air, but air can heat up through the warm water. Anyway, high energy consumption. How to find the proper solution to reduce this cost, on the other hand. And monitoring. This is also one very important issue in aquaponics. You have to regularly monitor your system, otherwise in a few hours you can lose your fish, you can lose your plants, and you can stay without. So all your income, all your money can go out of the window if you don't have this. And usually this regular monitoring, if you're doing it outside, so if you outsource this, it's usually quite expensive because of the materials, because of the all these chemicals they use to do these tests. And of course the issue of fish food. This industrial fish food it's quite expensive and it's quite costly in this aquaponics system. How to find a solution to produce, for example, your own fish food? Are there options? There are researchers doing, yes, maybe here and
I
there.
think these disadvantages are
Yeah.
made for commercial aquaponics.
Yeah,
Because if you are doing your own fish food, that's not feasible with the certified as organic. Because for a certified organic food, it should be done yeah.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, everything needs to be closed up in one circle, yeah. So not so much inputs from outside, but just to maintain, to have this really closed environment where you can grow and produce at the same time. Yeah.
Let me make a note on it, just to keep in mind, when you use the fish from South America for preparing the food for your aquaponic system, that won't be organic at all, because that don't solve any problem in the world of overfishing, in my
Okay.
So
Yes,
when you use other fish to feed your fish,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
organic.
But
If you produce the fish on your own, in your own plant, well, it's another
Mhm.
thing. But when you use the fish, which is from the fisheries of South America, which I don't know the word, fish meal.
Yeah.
Fish
Yeah.
meal.
Yeah.
When you use fish meal in your food for your aquaponic system, that's not
It's
organic.
not organic. Okay. Any pros and cons?
Could be
It could be organic.
Certified,
Okay.
MSC certified fish meal.
Those fish meat could be from how can we say from part of the world where the fisheries are responsible fisheries.
All right. Yes.
With
MSC. Right.
MSC,
Mhm.
MSC,
Mhm.
and also if we talk now about soy meal, it could be from organic whey also.
Yeah.
You can find organic fish.
I have a source in Switzerland where you can buy organic fish food free of fish meal, but it's more expensive.
Yeah. I mean, you have always to look at
I
the
mean,
costs. And
the aquaponics supplier in Germany has now in the web shop an soybean-based fish food as well. But he admits, your fishes won't grow that fast.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You have to have this in mind. Yeah.
On the other hand, you can also use another fish, not fish feed, but maybe vegan feed for your
Right.
fishes.
Yeah,
We don't
like
really-
tilapias
Yeah.
and omnivores or herbivores fish.
It depends on what type of fish do you
And
have in
you
your
can
system.
produce your own fish food, as you said.
Yeah,
with,
On the site, yeah, that would be
black
ideal.
social fly, for instance.
Yeah. Commercial.
For me, aquaponics, it's more about vegetables than about fishes. So it's
Yeah, I was at one conference
It's a
and
disadvantage.
people asked, I got the question from the audience, what do I think, which part is the more important part of the aquaponics system? And I said straight away it's fish part.
It's plants.
But most important, not most important, so if you extract the fish part, you're not talking about aquaponics anymore, you're talking about hydroponics, right? Okay, so that's why I said that fish here are very important part of the system. Of course, a part of the plants. I mean, you would like to produce the plants, but fish are the ones who are fertilizing your water for the plants.
That's right.
Okay, that's the clear message out of it. Okay, fish, right? Any other advantages or disadvantages? Maybe I forgot to mention, and maybe you would like to add. You're thinking. We covered quite a lot, yeah. But I think over years we will come across some more, and of course all the studies and research is doing to improving more this disadvantage part and to tick off disadvantages to make them advantages. Okay, just would like to give you an overview of the aquaponics in the world. So as you already know, it started in Australia because they have a lack of water, also very bad soil. Okay, lots of industrial sites where you can't grow normally in the soil. So it became like a hobby farming for people who have bigger gardens, and they started setting up those system backyards. So backyard aquaponics is from Australia. They're very well known, you probably all know about them. So they're like the pioneers in the world, okay? If we are talking about modern aquaponics. Forget about Aztecs 5,000 years ago, but like modern aquaponics started off in Australia, then it came to the United States, Canada, UK, because of the English-spoken community. They started developing that, and then it came to Europe. Also then the researchers from Europe came to Africa and then Egypt, so they're starting to spread this amongst local communities, especially in Africa, because people, they're just waiting there for their help, you know, but no one teaches them how to produce food in such a poor conditions they have there. Yeah, we are not aware of this fact because we are surrounded with lots of water and greenery, but there in Africa there is a big problem of it. Of course, the biggest one, as far as I know, is in United Arab Emirates. But before coming there, these are like a few examples, you know, from home aquaponics gardens in Australia. This was taken by Backyard Aquaponics, just to give you the impression how they look like. There are many, many more, but for me, I thought that this is a good example to show to you. So it started off like that. People were experimenting, they were very good. They used this expanded clay as a media to grow plants in it. So they connected in different ways, in different shapes. So they were very, very innovative. Of course, yes, aquaponics is not really strict, you know, yeah. So that's why this is also a good part of aquaponics. As soon as you know all the basics and what is happening in the system, it's like a piece of art of food production, I call it, like a piece of art. And then United States of America, also a few quite big commercial farms. On one hand, some of them successful, some of them they are not so successful. So you have lots of webinars as well available online from them. I would like to emphasize this, I don't know if you've heard about this, Florida Urban Organics. They're also certified organic in aquaponics. This is the latest news from this year, I found it. So they set up quite a big farm, so let's just have a look for 2 minutes. I think you don't need any words to explain because pictures are quite illustrative. It's a huge system which was set up in the old warehouse in Florida. You can look at this by yourself on YouTube. So yes, and they have also the experimental laboratory on site. So they're doing the microbial research on all these E. coli and bacteria. So basically the perfect unit you would wish for in the future. You see the fish tanks, and this is the laboratory. They're doing their research there. They're growing vertically, you know, to use more space. And it's all about it's called Florida Urban Organics. It's all about the economics at the end of the day of aquaponics. You have so many inputs, and you would like to do this economically viable in the end. Okay. Right, and then you can find some of them also in Canada, doing a lot of research as well there. And after the tsunami, quite a huge tsunami in Japan, they also decided to grow especially herbs. That's funny, because in Japanese cooking they use a lot of herbs, and herbs in Japan are very expensive. So family with 4 or 5 people, they barely can afford to buy fresh herbs, so they decided also to do some small setups on their balconies. But after this tsunami, they were thinking also more large-scale aquaponics system, because yeah, they realized that the food is very important, especially if you're producing it locally on your site. Then the second one is islands, also Canarian Islands, yeah, very perfect example. And then Hawaii, there is one system set up in Hawaii which is running quite successfully, and these were the guys from Hawaii where they got this first certificate, organic certificate for the America. Right, and as I said, Africa, locally supported aquaponics community where people are listening and willing to learn how to produce fish and vegetables at the same time. These are, in real cases, happening there in Africa. The biggest one, already mentioned, in the United Arab Emirates. It's huge. I didn't have a chance to see it yet. I would like to. It's 4,000 square meters big. Yeah. It's located 20 minutes away from Abu Dhabi. And they grow there broccoli, salad, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and fish tilapia. So they are producing 1,200 lettuce heads, okay, per day, yeah, and around 180 and 220 kilos of tomatoes per day, just a few numbers. There are 2 greenhouses, okay, they are 2,400 square meters each, so approximately 4,000 altogether, a little bit more, almost 5. One greenhouse is meant for the fish production and the other one is meant for the vegetable production. In 1 year, they produce, there is a data that in 1 year they produce 20 tons of fish. 20 tons of fish in 1 year. Their goal is that they will be producing, so in 21 days, to produce 60,000 heads of lettuce. This is their goal in the future. And when it will be fully operating, they will be producing 40 tons of vegetables. 40 tons of vegetables and 12 tons of fish. Okay, can you imagine, I mean, just now a challenging question, do you maybe know how much water is it used in this system, approximately? I gave you the size, what do you think? How much water is used in this system? 10,000 liters? No?
How much the fish you said?
Tons of fish. Their goal is to produce 20 tons of fish per year. Yeah. Is it 1,000 liters or 10,000, 1,000, 100,000? More than 100, yes, more than. So it's 400,000 liters of water in this system. And it's usable, I mean, I got this data that it's usable for 1 year or 2 and then it's replaced again. Okay, yeah. So it's very intensive, highly intensive commercial aquaponics system. let's go to Europe. So Switzerland, of course, urban farmers. Yeah, who knows them? They are quite successful in that area, this part of Europe. They have some plans to do this rooftop farm in Hague, in Netherlands. And then, of course, Great Britain. In Wales, there is an aquaponic unit run by Kate Humble, which is a BBC it's a radio and TV speaker, right? Talking about nature. So she did that together with Aquaponics UK, which is also a part of the COST Action. So they did this passive solar greenhouse, you know, made of wood. It looks really nice, and yeah, they run the workshops there. They're producing fish and vegetables. They have some restaurant near. Yeah, so you can go there and visit them. What is left? From the beginning, yeah, where we were, questioning ourselves with these problems or challenges the world is facing today. Do you like this picture? Yeah?
No,
Yeah? Sorry?
there is no sun.
Okay. But yeah, I think this is the answer for the future. We will have to bring the food from the countryside, where is it produced in conventional ways, more closer to people, so to the cities. And maybe aquaponics is really one of the solutions to bring this food closer. All right? And to provide the food to everyone and not to be dependent so much on others, especially on the countryside. Yeah, and also to make cities more green, okay, more healthy environment to live in. Yeah, and I think that this is the way forward, for sure, in 20-30 years' time. That's why we are here now, today, learning, sharing experience and knowledge, to make this true, to make this really happen.